Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I hope you're all doing well this fine Tuesday. It's lovely and sunny here in Northern England for once. It's been rainy and stormy for the last few days, so we got some sun back, which is good. I am on a few minutes early. I thought I'd just hop on because I was ready and the pup's asleep. I've got to basically do everything I need to do while the pup's asleep because it's like having a hyperactive toddler in the house. So we're here to talk about Lilly and Jack today, and we've got the full CBC interview from Daniel. The CBC News just kind of played a number of little clips, but they have released the full interview. So we're going to watch that. And also, Charmaine, who has her own channel, but she's on regularly on It's a Crime and Shame. She actually got a press pass for the media briefing on Friday with the Human Remains detection dog team. So she's now released the full briefing. So I have watched it once. I watched it last night, but I'm going to watch it again in its completeness with you all. So that's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do. As I'm on a little bit early, I'll give people a chance to come in and I'll say a few hellos. And if you've got any questions, we'll spend a couple of minutes just answering stuff because I am on early. So if people had clocked the time of when this was meant to start, then they'll be like, why have you already started? We got Lolly, who's been a member for 34 months. That's a long time. That is a long time. We got Mrs. Kojak, Overrun with Cats. Michelle, great name, Michelle. We've got Chef Wilson. Good morning from Newfoundland in Canada. We've got That Cat Bob from Falkirk. I'm assuming that's Falkirk in Scotland. Maybe there's Falkirks everywhere else. I don't know. We've got Queen of Ravens from South Wales. We've got the Professor of Mathematics and Science. We got Judy from Southern New Hampshire. We got Lady, I can't read that kind of writing. Lady Aiken, I think. We got Darlene from Nova Scotia. We got Eastern Girls Crafting, Down Under with Love, Karen, Shazza, Kelly, Diane, the porch, maybe that says. I so need glasses. I so really need glasses. So bad. We got Dawn, Pointer Lover, Unindicted Co-Conspirator, Rhonda, Oles, Luna, Windy, Maligator, Teresa, Esmeralda, Tammy, Nolly, Koala the Best. We got Kim, Kendra, Lady Luck, and we're going to get to the bottom. I don't know. Daniel is setting off alarms. He's been setting off alarms since day one for me. Now, he might be completely and totally innocent, but he's his own worst enemy. Mrs. Bartman. We got Julie from Michigan. OZ creates. Who else we got? Betty. Aubrey. Pia. Hey, Marcia. Thank you for joining. Welcome to the Secret Agents Club. Go and check out the members area. We got Susie, Thunderhorse, Cindy. Jaguars Hooligan from Florida. Shit Shaker from Kentucky. We got Kate from Pictou County. And Mrs. Bartman's in Ontario. And Barbara is from Foxborough, Ontario. We got a bunch of people in from Canada. Well, there's another little boy who is missing from Canada. Let me just show you him. His name, I did a little video about him on my other channel, Michelle Walks, this morning. His name is Darius McDougall. He's 5 years old and he's been missing since Sunday morning from Alberta. The, what's it called? Crow's Nest Pass, I think. very rural area. It's the Island Lake campground. And he was with his siblings. This is Sunday morning. They went for a walk. The siblings all went back to the campsite and Darius wasn't with them. So there's a massive search effort out there. And this little boy's got autism. So they are concerned that he may not be able to speak. Like, I don't know whether he's verbal or not, but a lot of little kids, whether they're autistic or not, this is little kids very frequently, when they're lost, they are scared and they don't shout. They don't shout back. They hide. They hunker down because they're scared. They're scared of the noise. They're scared of people shouting for them. They're scared of the helicopters. They're just scared. And they think they're in trouble, so they hunker down and they don't speak up. They don't assist in their own rescue. So they are very concerned that Darius might be out there alive and, you know, hungry and thirsty and not able to communicate with them. So the last I heard, so there hasn't been any news overnight. Alberta, I think Alberta's maybe 6 hours behind me. I'm not really sure, 6 or 7 hours behind me. And when I made this video this morning, there wasn't any news that had come out overnight, but they were searching overnight. They were going to have the helicopter going overnight with the, you know, it's special vision and the thermal imaging drones out there as well, looking overnight. So hopefully they find him today. You know, he's been missing now for, it's coming on 2 days. So it's absolutely imperative that they find him today. If he's alive out there, they need to find him ASAP, or else, you know, even if he's uninjured, he's gonna die of dehydration. So hopefully, fingers crossed, they find him. Aubrey, thank you for joining. Welcome to the Secret Agents Club. Oh, you're rejoining. I can see that. Thank you so much. Thank you. 7 a.m. in Alberta right now. Well, it's just gone to 2 p.m. here. So, yeah, 7 hours. 7 hours behind me. So, I'm guessing that's mountain time. All right, let's move over now to Lily and Jack. And I'm going to play this first because this is the shorter one. This is the full interview with Daniel from CBC. This was released 16 hours ago. And at least it gives some context to what time is media briefing. The media briefing happened on Friday, Pincho. It happened on Friday, but it wasn't released. It was just for the media and it wasn't released to the public. But Charmaine, who is a guest often on the channel It's a Crime and Shame, she actually was able to get a press pass. So she was able to log on to the Microsoft Teams call and participated in the briefing. So it's Charmaine that's released it on her channel. So I'm going to play it from Charmaine's channel. She's got her own channel. So when we get to it, I'm going to show you Charmaine's channel. I'm going to ask you all to subscribe and support Charmaine for doing this, because we wouldn't have it otherwise. We wouldn't have got this otherwise. We've got some clips that the news has played, but none of them, you know, they've had since Friday, and none of them, it's now Tuesday, none of them have released it, the full media briefing. So Charmaine has. So Charmaine deserves very much the credit for it. But before we get to that, because that's the longer one, it's like 52 minutes. Before we get to that, I'm going to play this because it's just 7 minutes. And I'm not going to stop it too much. I'm not going to comment too much, but just in case you want to listen it through, if you haven't heard this already, I'm sure many of you have heard it anyway. There are a couple of things that I do want to comment on in this. And then when the media briefing is on with the detection dogs, the same applies. I'm not going to comment too much. However, I will comment because there's a few things I do want to comment on there. So, all right, we'll start with this. This is CBC News and Daniel's full interview. And it does give us the context. you know, the way that CBC clipped it, it sounded really odd. Like it sounded that he was really contradicting himself. But when you listen to the full context, I don't think it does. I don't think it does. So you might think differently, though.
Go in there and won't find anything?
I know for 100% they won't.
So are you thinking that the dogs will go in there and won't find anything?
I know for 100% they won't find anything.
So what do you make of the fact that they are bringing the cadaver dogs in?
Well, I'm actually pretty happy about that because it's been about 3 months I've been asking for them, and it's just been delayed, I guess, till now. But I know things take time and dogs are hard to get.
So what does this say to you? Because I mean, they are dogs searching for human remains.
Well, I know that it's going to be really hard work now that there's so much vegetation in the woods, but I'm pretty happy that they're going to be able to do it. I even hope that they bring more than one dog if they have access to more than one dog.
So we know if they were actually bringing 2 dogs.
So what are you happy about? What do you hope this will bring?
I would just like to see maybe the social media speculation theories and accusations, maybe they're not going to stop, but slow down, because at this point they're getting ridiculous.
So are you thinking that the dogs will go in there and won't find anything?
I know for 100% they won't find anything. I mean, that's probably why they waited this long to do it. It's just to keep the public informed, I guess, that they're hard at work.
See, that's the clip that the news played that sounded really off. And I commented on it. I commented on it in a live stream, how off it was contradictory. You know, he literally said he's happy that they're coming, bringing the cadaver dogs, but that he knows for a fact 100% they won't find anything, and that, you know, they're just showing that they're doing some work. And it really sounds contradictory. However, if you carry on listening, I think it becomes clear what he means.
Do you think it will rule things out?
Yeah, I think we'll rule a lot of things out. We'll rule out that the RCMP are, you know, working hard, and there's no human remains on the property.
There you go.
There
you go. There's no human remains on the property. So that's what he was talking about when he said he knows 100% they won't find anything. It's because he knows they're going to come and search his property. Now, Janie owns 2 acres, so she, like, I don't know where the property lines are, where the boundaries are, but Janie did say that she owns around 2 acres. So you've got the driveway area in the front yard, you've got the backyard, you've got that bit at the back where the chickens are, you've got some wooded area, which I guess is going to be within her acreage. So Daniel was saying he knows 100% they won't find anything on the property. So because they cut it before he said that, it made it sound like they're not going to find anything anywhere they look. But he's not saying that. He's saying that they're not going to find anything on the property. He knows for sure that Lilly and Jack are not on that property. So you could absolutely say, well, he knows that. He knows that because the bodies are elsewhere and they're never going to find them, because he knows where they are and they're never going to find them. You could say that. Or somebody else might know something. It's not exactly enough comment. He's complaining about the RCMP doing nothing, and he's saying they're only doing this pretend to work. Yeah. That's the way I've took it as well. That little bit. Oh, she owns 7 acres, does she? Oh, I thought she only owned 2 acres. I didn't know that she owns 7 acres. Does she own 2 acres around the property and then 7 acres elsewhere? She might do. Anyway, however many acres she owns, Daniel, the news did him a disservice by cutting it off before the end of that comment, because he did clarify that he meant on the property, so the property that he lives on.
Is there any piece of you that's preparing for the fact, like, what if they do find something?
No, because I didn't do anything. I know Malaya didn't do anything. I know my mother didn't do anything. Those are 3 people on the property. I mean, after the polygraph exams, they should have known right there. We didn't kill any of the kids, or we didn't kill the kids.
Okay, so he's literally trying to clear his name. So he's happy that the cadaver dogs are coming because he thinks it's going to clear his name. And look, if he's completely innocent, you can understand why he feels bitter, because he's taken a lot of stick. He's his own worst enemy. He absolutely is his own worst enemy, because when he talks, he does make ambiguous statements. He does lead people on. He does say stuff that it's intriguing, and he then doesn't follow through with what on earth he's talking about. So he is his own worst enemy, and I hope he is innocent. I hope it is. Just the fact that he's been playing a little bit fast and loose with social media, which is not nice, but I guess he would say that social media has not been nice to him, and that's his, that's his opinion. And yeah, there are a lot of elements of social media that have really not been nice to him. But he thinks that the cadaver dogs coming to the property and not finding Lilly and Jack's bodies on the property are going to clear his name. But I'm sorry, Daniel, it doesn't work like that, because all people will say is, well, of course they're not on the property. You wouldn't be stupid enough to bury them on your property. You'd take them elsewhere. You've got miles and miles and miles and miles of woodland. So you could easily take them 10 miles away and bury them somewhere. You could have taken them to the coast. You could have taken them, they could have been dead for many hours before the cops were called. So it's not going to clear his name by the cadaver dogs not finding Lilly and Jack's bodies on the property, just like them taking the polygraphs didn't clear their names. I mean, look, the cops say that they're not suspects. I mean, no one's been cleared as such. They haven't used the word cleared, but they have said there's no evidence of a crime, and they have said, that they've all passed polygraphs. But that's not enough to clear their names either, because we know that polygraphs are not admissible in court. I think it's unlikely that, with all of them passing, that all of them are guilty. But it doesn't mean to say that they asked the right questions. It doesn't mean to say that somebody couldn't pass a polygraph whilst being guilty of something, and they've just not asked the right questions for it to kind of be elicited. And Janie's polygraph was inconclusive. She said in her own words on the DT show the other night that it was inconclusive, but they ruled that to be due to her heart condition, which it most probably was due to her heart condition. And they didn't give it, a proper result. It was inconclusive, but they didn't give it a proper result because of her heart condition.
Why do you think that they're not possibly, why that they didn't possibly wander into the woods?
Well, with the amount of resources that were used, and I mean, for everything from drones to helicopters to classified technology and all the searchers on the ground, I mean, searchers on bicycles, they did everything. On the pipeline, they took in ATVs and Argos and side-by-sides. They used everything they could.
Tell me about, what do you make at this point of the investigation of what RCMP have been doing or not doing? What's your stance on all of that?
Well, I would like to go in for another whole round of polygraph exams. I mean, that would be, and maybe bring some new people in that are doing the polygraph exams. But I know they're hard at work.
So another round of polygraphs with new polygraphers. I mean, how much money does he think these guys have? He's not gonna he's not gonna want another polygraph, surely. Does he? Does he want another polygraph with a different polygrapher to double prove that he's innocent, that he can pass twice? Or does he mean that he wants different people to be polygraphed? But who else is there to polygraph? I guess you could do Malaya's sister, her brother's girlfriend. You could do, who else is there? Patty, Malaya's grandma. But I think they probably know where those people were. during the time that Lilly and Jack could have disappeared. So I don't know that they're going to do any more polygraphs just because Daniel wants it. You know, surely there has to be an operational need for it at this point.
I mean, I've filled notebooks with just trying to help them find leads or give them any kind of small detail, answer as many questions as I can, or, you know, but I'm doing everything I can. I usually try to meet with them 3 times a week. And
no, you don't, Dan. Come on. They're not going to want to meet with him 3 times a week. They're not going to have it in their diaries to meet with Daniel Martell 3 times a week. That's just silly talk. A genuine parent doesn't care about cost. That's true. That's true. However, he's thinking about himself. He wants to clear his name, and he wants to point the fingers elsewhere. You know, he could easily just say, well, Lilly and Jack are in the woods, and just maintain that Lilly and Jack wandered off, which was the initial story. But he wants to point his fingers elsewhere. He wants to point his finger at Malea's family. Now, of course, he's bitter at social media, but he'll also be bitter at Malaya and her family because she left, and it was her family that encouraged her to leave, and she now has blocked him, and he's basically lost Malaya. So, of course, he's going to be bitter, but pointing the fingers at people who he must know I've got nothing to do with it is very disingenuous, to say the least. Who passes a polygraph and asks for another? I know. Can you blame him if he was innocent and being slandered daily? I'd want to clear my name too. It's not that I blame him. It's that I think that he has been his own worst enemy, because he's the one that has caused so many people to attack him by going on different chat rooms. He's in people's chats in live streams. He's arguing with people. He's pointing the finger at Malea's family, and he's making himself look more guilty by doing that. Like, if he just calmed the F down and behaved like someone who is grieving for Lilly and Jack, rather than all about me, look at what I've done. I filled notebooks. I meet with the RCMP 3 times a week. I'm the only one that's looking. I got there before the helicopters. I risked my life going through like knee deep a creek. If he didn't do all that, then people wouldn't have gone so hard on him. So while I understand that if he is innocent, of course he's going to want to clear his name. But
sometimes they're not.
That surely is secondary to thinking, well, actually, maybe I should just cool it a bit and not antagonize people, perhaps.
Around for that, or phone calls or texts, but whatever we can do.
So I guess to bring it back to the cadaver dogs, since you've been asking for it for so long, I guess, you don't have any information on how that will happen?
No, I don't even know where quite they're going to start searching, or where they're going to do. Are they going to expand out onto the properties? The property there is fairly small. It's only 2 acres. So,
yeah.
See, so he's assuming they're coming to check his property, and then, they're going to maybe then spread out and go elsewhere. Well, maybe they have more preferred areas. I would imagine that the RCMP, yes, I would, if I was one of the dog handlers, I would definitely want to run my dog through that property. Definitely, 100%. However, if the RCMP's initial theory is correct and Lilly and Jack did wander off, then there's probably more suitable areas or more key areas for them to go to and spend more time, I would think. But Daniel isn't thinking like that, because all he wants from this exercise is to clear his name.
Will be the whole 8.5 that they searched previously?
I don't know. That's a lot. That would be quite a few. That'd be a couple of weeks probably on foot doing that.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you look at the documents, and you know, some of the other stuff RCMP has said or done, there's 70,000 drone photos that were taken during the search. that's a lot of photos. I mean, they had to review and do everything. So they would have found some kind of something there. Or even when they brought in classified technology, this scanned.
What is this classified technology? If it's classified, how does Daniel know about it? I mean, we're going to bring in this classified technology. It's classified, but we're going to bring it in and we're going to tell Daniel Martell that we're bringing in classified technology. All right. That makes a whole lot of sense. Let me just take my hoodie off. I'm boiling in here. Will scent still be able to be picked up even after all this time of the children missing? Yes, because we're not talking about live scent cadaver dogs. Live scent tracker dogs. We're talking about cadaver dogs. We're not talking about live scent.
Scan the whole area. They ever found a beaver and a coyote. That's all they found.
So why do you think this step is necessary?
Well, it just rules out one and brings the book a little bit closer to being closed. I mean, one chapter at a time.
How have you been doing?
Well, I'm not going to say I'm doing well, but doing better than I was at the start, I guess. It's physically exhausting, mentally exhausting, emotionally exhausting, but every day you wake up and it's a new day. New hope. And just keep going forward.
Tell me about the toll, like what you were just mentioning earlier about social media.
Yeah, social media has been quite a circus, we'll call it. But I can't control them, and they're free to judge.
Well, you can actually control your little part of it, Daniel, if you're listening to this. You can control your own little part of it. Stop going into chat rooms and making statements that people are going to jump on. Just stop doing it. Just stop doing it. You can control that part of it.
But maybe just use a little bit of this before they start typing, or
yeah, take your own advice.
Use an AI for pictures.
I mean, we're coming up on, is it coming up to 5 months?
Yeah, in the second. So yeah, it's less than 2 weeks.
Like, did you ever imagine that we'd be here still talking about this?
No. I thought with the amount of resources and amount of different units for RCMP working on it, everything from dive teams to canine units and they have dedicated teams just for social media. They have a dedicated guy that just sits there and watches highway cameras. So.
No, I honestly don't blame Daniel's ex-wife for not wanting the kids to visit. He's got Don Wells syndrome. He absolutely has. That's exactly what he's got.
What's it been like for you now that we're back to September, school's back, and seeing the school bus go by every day?
Yeah, no, it's hard. There's quite a few school buses that go by, and there's a lot of kids in the area I see, and it's sad. It's not just sad for Jack and Lily, but it's sad for everybody who knew Jack and Lily. They had friends, they went to school, and it's just, they had teachers that seen them every day, and it's just hard on everybody.
I know we ask you this every single time, but why do you keep doing it?
For Jack and Lily. I don't do this for myself because I'm going to see this online later and people are going to analyze it. Every time I move my hands, every time I open my mouth, every facial expression, they analyze everything right down to a T. I know that.
What would you like the public to know?
I want the public to know if anyone has any information, just please come forward. Call the RCMP, call your local police department, call Crime Stoppers.
Do you still think they're still alive?
Yes, I hope so. I mean, that's all we have is hope.
All right, all we have is hope. Interesting. Even more interesting, though, is this. All right, so this comes from Charmaine. The channel, which I subscribed to this morning, has only got 611 subscribers. So how many people have I got in this room right now? I've got 491 people watching me. So if you've not subscribed to True Crime Story Pod with Bree and Shah, then you might want to just hop over to here and subscribe. I'm going to put a link to this in the chat, so you can just hop on over and subscribe to it, if you wouldn't mind, because Charmaine had the presence of mind to get herself a press pass. I don't know how she did that. I don't know whether she's got links to journalism. I don't know how she did it. I don't know how she did it, but she did it. And it was clear that the media who were there, you know, CBC and CTV and Global News, you know, the Globe and Mail, they've not released a full briefing. All they've released are the little clips that they've played on their news pieces. But to get the full briefing, we would not have been able to see this, hear this, if it hadn't have been for Charmaine. So I think the very least we can all do is go and subscribe to her channel. All right. The audio's not brilliant. It does cut out a few times. It's the internet. I think it's on their side. This is Microsoft Teams. And I don't know why they use Microsoft Teams, because I remember back in COVID times, we started off having our staff meetings on Microsoft Teams, and it was terrible. It was really bad. So we took everything to Zoom, which was much better. So I don't know why they use Teams. I don't know why they didn't use Zoom, or they could even have used StreamYard. But anyhow, I guess they use what they're familiar with and blah, blah, blah. But it does cut out a little bit in a few places. It's listenable. It's not too bad. I'm going to put the CCs on as well to help us a little bit further. So who is in the room? These are the dog team people, the people who you can see on the screen. They're the cops, and there's the dog handlers are on there as well. And then the people who you can see, like CL, AT, LJ, C, and SP, I assume they're the media people. And they are given the opportunity to ask questions, which I think it was really interesting. I mean, really interesting. So I am going to mute out, and I'm going to let it play through just in case you haven't seen this and you want to listen to it, you know, closely. I'll put it on normal speed. Oh, it is on normal speed anyway. I'll put it on normal speed, even though I can't abide it because it's too slow. It's too slow. However, I'm going to listen closely. There are a couple of times, though, I do want to come in and comment on. And once again, this is on Charmaine's channel. True Crime Story Pod with Bree and Shah. Thank you so much, Charmaine, for doing this. All right, let's go.
Corporal Guillaume Tremblay with the Nova Scotia RCMP. I'll be your moderator this afternoon. Bonjour à tous, je suis Caporal Guillaume Tremblay de la GRC en Nouvelle-Écosse. Je serai votre modérateur pour aujourd'hui. I'm joined today with the two RCMP's subject matter experts in police dog services. With us today, we have Staff Sergeant Steve.
I don't know why my CCs are not working. CCs are on. I don't know why they're not working. I don't know. And it does say a little bit of the introduction in French, but that doesn't continue. All the important stuff from the dog handlers, that's just in English. And I don't know why the CCs are not working. Maybe they'll kick in at some point. All right, I'm going to mute out now. Let him talk.
Pike, he is the program manager of the RCMP Police Dog Services Training Center. And also joined with us is Sergeant Dave Whalen, a supervisor in RCMP Police Dog Services. Staff Sergeant Pike and Sergeant Whalen are here to answer questions about the police dog human remains detection. Aujourd'hui, je suis accompagné de deux experts de la GRC dans le domaine des services de chiens de police. Le sergent d'état-major Steve Pike, gestionnaire de programme au centre de dressage des chiens de la GRC, et le sergent Dave Whalen, superviseur des services de chiens de police de la GRC. Le sergent d'état-major et le sergent Whalen sont ici pour répondre aux questions spécifiques à la détection des restes humains par les chiens policiers. As noted in the advisory about their availability, they're not here to speak directly about an investigation they're supporting. They are here to answer questions regarding human remains detection and police dog services. I also have with me here today my colleague Ian McDonald, who is online to assist the question and answer period. We will take one question and one follow-up from each of you, and we will proceed in alphabetical order. When asked the questions, Ian will proceed and unmute your mic, and then you can proceed with the question and the follow-up afterwards. Please state your name and the agency that you represent. Comme indiqué dans l'avis aux médias, ils ne participent pas directement aux enquêtes, mais ils les supportent. Alors, ils sont ici aujourd'hui pour répondre aux questions en relation d'être maître chien et des détections de restes humains. Si vous avez des questions directement pour l'enquête, s'il vous plaît, communiquez avec les communications stratégiques de la GRC en Nouvelle-Écosse. Avec moi ici aujourd'hui, j'ai aussi mon collègue Ian McDonald qui est en ligne pour nous assister avec la période de questions-réponses. Durant la période de questions-réponses, s'il vous plaît, limitez-vous à une question et un suivi et indiquez quelle agence et votre nom. Just as a reminder, if you have any investigative questions specifically, you can contact the Nova Scotia RCMP Strategic Communications and direct those questions there. I'll hand over the floor to Staff Sergeant Pike for a quick intro, and then we'll follow up with Sergeant Whalen.
Thank you. As mentioned, my name is Stephen Pike. I'm a member of the RCMP, currently posted at the Police Dog Service Training Center, located in Innisfil, Alberta, where we are responsible for the breeding program and the training and validations of all the RCMP police service dogs across Canada. My role as program manager oversees that as for the national level.
Thank you, Staff Sergeant Pike. We'll pass things over to Sergeant Whalen.
Hey, my name is Sergeant Dave Whalen. I'm stationed down in the Lower Mainland of Vancouver, BC. My current role is a training NCO for a large team down in Vancouver. I've got just about 35 years experience, 21 years of that as a dog handler, and I spent 5.5 years working with Staff Sergeant Pike in the Police Dog Service Training Center, and I'm currently.
For those who've just arrived, I can see a few people saying what's happening. Right, this is the media briefing that the Human Remains Detection Dog team did on Friday. It's not a pre-search briefing, no. This is the media briefing that they did, the RCMP did on Friday. The media who were there didn't release the full briefing. Obviously, as you can see, it was recorded, but all the news did. So I'm talking about CBC, CTV, Global News, Globe and Mail. All they did was release a couple of clips on their news pieces, and nobody released the full briefing, which is 52 minutes long. However, Charmaine, who is a YouTuber, she appears a lot as a guest on It's a Crime and Shame with Sunny, but she does have her own channel. It's called True Crime Story Pod with Brie and Shaw. And she got herself a press pass and was able to attend the full briefing. This is on Microsoft Teams, so it was an online briefing. And she has kindly put it on her channel, and this is why we're able to watch it. So if you wouldn't mind going over and subscribing to True Crime Story Pod with Brie and Shaw, I think it's the very least any of us can do, is to go and subscribe to the channel and perhaps go and rewatch it over on her channel as well and give her the extra views for it, because she's the one that has gone and done this and is enabling us all to see the full briefing, because the mainstream media wasn't going to do it. So at least someone did. All right. So that's what's happening. So this is from Friday. It's about human remains detection dogs, the very dogs that are going to be searching for Jack and Lily. They're not talking specifically about the case. They're talking about their dogs and their dogs' abilities. But these are the dogs and the handlers that are going to be searching for Jack and Lily. All right. All right. I'm going to mute back out now. But this is just the introduction bit, so you haven't missed very much. All right. All right. Moving out again.
The human remains dog handler with my dog Kit.
Thank you both. And as noted, both will be in Nova Scotia to assist with investigations here with the Nova Scotia RCMP. I'll hand things over to Ian. We'll start with the question and answer period. We'll proceed alphabetically. Thank you, Ian.
Good day, folks. We will proceed alphabetically as per my participant list via Teams. So Adam, pardon me if I get your last name wrong, Ponce, you're up. No? Okay. We will proceed with Allie Thompson.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'd like to know why now? Why not earlier in this investigation?
Ali, I can take that question to the police dog services here. And in regards, I'm assuming you're talking about the Lilly and Jack file.
Yeah.
So earlier on, very active investigation, a lot of resources, hundreds of volunteers, thousands of volunteer hours, square kilometers of search thoroughly. And we have to keep our options open, look at every investigative avenue. To this date, we've received over 800 tips. We've done 80 interviews, over 1,000 tasks, and reviewed over 8,000 videos. Certainly, there's a lot of work in missing persons investigation. And this is, the next step with our resources. We're looking at every resource that's available, and investigators are working very hard every day on this file.
That does not answer my question. Let me rephrase it. When are cadaver dogs usually brought into such missing persons investigations? Is there any sort of timeline that police look at for that?
Did you want me to jump in there?
Yeah, sure thing, Steve, if you want to take that first portion, and if it's specific to Lilly and Jack's search, I can certainly handle that.
No, it would just be in general terms. In regards to the question there, at what point do they come in? And it was similar to be echoing what you had stated. It's a certain stage of a process. So to incorporate a human remains detection, you would have to believe that there's reason to that decomposition is taking place. Other than that, when the investigation would start, you have to rule out all other possibilities. Are they missing? Are they simply wandered off? So until you accomplish all those other, as you said, information coming in, tips that are coming in, you have to process all that information. If not, for a police service dog to be utilized to its most effective, you want a clean slate, for lack of better terms. You don't want to have so many variables of so many searchers and rescuers taking part in that search that the dogs now don't have a clear picture of what their task is.
All right, just let me stop him there. That sounds ridiculous. Yes, it does. I don't know why Canada has got such a big problem with human remains detection dogs. I don't know why they only have 6 to 8 dogs. It's like they don't even know how many dogs they've got. Is it 6, is it 7, or is it 8? They should know how many dogs they've got. Do they not have eyes on all their dogs? What is going on? Like, the United States has got thousands. The UK has got thousands of dogs that are able to serve as a cadaver dog. Now, look, he's right in that what they don't want is to send the cadaver dogs out when the search has only just started. You're not going to want your cadaver dogs out on the first day, because the vast majority of children who go missing are found safe and sound within a few hours, or at least in the first day. So you're not going to send your cadaver dog teams out on the first day, or even probably on the second day or the third day. However, what this bunch of lunatics did was on May the 7th, so just day 6, right? So Jack and Lily were reported missing at 10:01 a.m. on May the 2nd. On May the 7th, the RCMP had a press conference saying that they were scaling down the search because they believed that Jack and Lily were no longer alive. At that point, in a normal search, if it was in the United States or if it had been in the UK, at that point where they are confident that the children are not in the, the close vicinity, and they've been away, they've been missing for longer than they're expecting them to be alive. At that point, they then bring in cadaver dogs. And he's right in that. What you don't want when you've got dog teams out, you don't want a bunch of other searchers out there. I understand that it's distracting for the dogs. It's also distracting for the handlers. But on May the 7th, when they said that they believe that Jack and Lily were no longer alive, and that's why they were scaling back the search, on May the 8th, that's when, in a normal circumstance, if it hadn't been Canada, they would have brought in cadaver dogs, I can assure you. And to say, oh, well, you've got to make sure they're not just missing and not just wandered off, I think what he actually means is not just wandered off and they're going to be found or they're going to come back on their own. I get all that. But I'm not happy with the way that RCMP have dealt with this. And this seems to be a Canada-wide problem. The fact that they've only got 6 to 8 cadaver dogs tells me everything I need to know about how so utterly behind the times they are. They are missing a huge, huge trick here, because human remains detection dogs are no more expensive to keep than any other search dog. They're no more difficult to train than any other search dog. And investing their budget in cadaver dogs actually could solve a lot of cases. There's thousands of missing people in Canada. I wonder why they stay missing, because they don't search for them properly. All right, back out now, because I'm so angry about the way that they've dealt with this. Even at May the 7th, one of the journalists asked them at the press conference, were they going to bring in cadaver dogs? And they said they were thinking about it. I can't remember his exact words, but they said they were thinking about it, something that they were possibly going to do. That was May the 7th. We are now September the 23rd, and the cadaver dog teams are on the ground this week. They are there this week. But dear God. All right, moving on.
You and I could explain to each other, hey, we're looking for someone wearing this clothing. If we deploy the dog, they have to decipher that world, but from a scent perspective. So how do they distinguish? We want to make it as accessible as possible so that we deploy the resources with the most effective outcome.
Ali, if I can add as well, earlier on, the police dog services here in Nova Scotia did deploy to the scene, and they were trained to detect human scent, and they were heavily involved in the searches in very early on, as soon as the call came in.
So this isn't the first time that dogs that can detect human remains have been deployed in the search?
So the dogs that police dog services here in Nova Scotia can detect human scent, so they can track a person through the woods, for example.
Okay. And my follow-up, how long can is this?
All right. So live scent tracking dogs or live scent trailing dogs have been on the scene. He's not made it clear there that these are very different dogs. What a live scent tracker dog is doing is searching for live scent. They're searching for a living person. Could they detect someone who's very recently died? Yes. if they've recently died in the last few hours or even the last couple of days, yes, they could still detect them because their track, the trail, would still be there, right? So those dogs who were on the ground, who, you know, there was a dog sent to where they found the boot print. There was a dog that allegedly tracked Lilly and Jack sent down the driveway. They took a dog to the area where the blanket was found. And those are live scent tracker dogs. These are very different dogs than cadaver dogs. Cadaver dogs are searching for the scent of human decomposition. They're not looking for a track. They're searching for human decomposition. They're trained in article detection. The article that they're looking for is the decomposition. It's the same as what Cassie's trained to do to find foams. It's just article detection. And it's no more difficult to train a dog to do it than it is to train them to find drugs, to find electronics, to find bombs, to find cancer. It's exactly the same training. It's just a different scent. That's all. It's very different, though, than man trailing.
Work expected to take? What kind of timeline do these investigations follow?
The timeline's basically, there's no real answer to that because we don't know what we don't know. So if we're going to deploy and search for whatever the case might be, whatever that target could be, whether it be explosives, drugs, live humans, decomposition material, you go till you alleviate all those possibilities, all those tips, if you will, all those highest areas of probability. So there's no real timeline to follow until you extinguish all the possibilities.
Thank you, Ellie. Ian, we can go down the list.
Perfect. Andrew Sampson.
Hi, folks. Just a really quick question before I ask my actual question. You said the dogs that searched were trained for human scent. That's different than human remains. That would be a human that was still alive. Is that true? Is that the case?
Thanks for that question. So yeah, earlier on, the police dog services here in Nova Scotia, whenever we call their services for an investigation, it would be to track a person's scent. It could be breaking under where the person of interest runs off to the forest. It could be a person who is missing. There's many scenarios where we would call on police dog services here in Nova Scotia.
Okay, thank you. So my question is, earlier it was mentioned that, you don't bring in the cadaver dogs until it's clear that, you're searching for remains. You don't want to confuse it with the other people searching. But we know that the search hasn't been active for months now. And, I think even as early as May 7th, police were saying it was unlikely the children were still alive. So with that known.
Thank you. He said exactly what I thought on May 7th. They told everybody, they stood up in front of a bunch of reporters and broadcast to the world that they no longer believed Jack and Lilly were alive. That was May 7th. That should have initiated a cadaver dog search in the places that they thought Lilly and Jack were most likely to be. And it doesn't mean to say just because they didn't find anything the first time they brought cadaver dogs there, they may have brought cadaver dogs to the property and then not found them, took them to the area where the blanket was found and not found anything. But they go away, they investigate, they do a bit more, they pick up some more leads, and they might bring the cadaver dogs out again. Where they've got cadaver dog availability within any certain province or state or county, whatever, you can do that. You can get your cadaver dog back out for a search of a specific area. When you've only got 6 to 8 dogs in the entirety of a country as huge as Canada, that's why we've got a problem. And on May the 7th, they said that they believed that Jack and Lilly were no longer alive. We are now September 23rd. That's insane to me. Insane.
I'm curious why it has taken so long to bring these dogs in.
Sorry, go ahead.
I can answer that first portion there in regards to the investigation. You know, there's certainly a lot of steps at the very beginning, a lot of information that's being gathered by those investigators, and they have to follow up on those leads, right? We have to keep our minds open to any possibility, and certainly, you know, we are open to any scenario in this case, and we have our police dog service experts that are coming in at this time.
I'll just add to that. I was a diver with the RCMP, and we would have to search. And what it comes down to is you search the areas of highest probability. So any investigation would have to direct you or point you into areas of highest probability. For the resources, all the background that it takes to locate areas of possible interest, for lack of better terms. So do you just each day pick a new area? Well, where do you target this to use the resources most effectively? Again, it's, as you stated, it's somewhat time sensitive. So if you burn out all your resources earlier on without having true information to lead you to the area of highest probability, that's all for now.
But by May the 7th, they had areas of highest probability. By May the 7th, they believed that Jack and Lily could have been in the area of the boot print. They even went and searched for 2 further weekends along the pipeline trail, and they did 2 days searching the ponds nearby, believing that Jack and Lily were deceased, either along the pipeline trail somewhere or in the water. So wouldn't having a cadaver dog team there at that time have been a very useful thing to do? Rather than sending like 100 searchers out along the pipeline trail, why not send 3 or 4 cadaver dogs out over the course of a week? And this is the problem that Canada has of only having 6 to 8 cadaver dogs in the entirety of a country, and having to bring 2 dogs in from British Columbia, like literally the other side of the country, to search. If they had like teams available, like every police service in the UK has their own cadaver dogs. They do in the United States. Sheriff's offices have them. The state police definitely have them. The FBI definitely have their own teams, because they know how useful they are. And yet they're sending 100 searchers out, you know, to fight through bracken and brambles and stuff, looking for dead bodies. Well, at that point, they believe Jack and Lily were dead. You're not sending divers down the bottom of a lake if you think they're alive. What do you think they're doing? Like, what they're doing? Like sitting down there in a bubble or something? Of course you believe they're dead. So at that point, you bring in your cadaver dogs. But no. They did 2 weekend searches. They did the lake search. By the end of May, that was it. That was all done and dusted. There's been no searches on the ground for months. And here we are. And social media has drug the family through the nettles, through the weeds for months. If these people, these family members, are truly innocent and Jack and Lily just wandered off and had an accident and died somewhere, the RCMP have drugged that family like by not solving this case through the mud for no reason whatsoever, other than Canada has got a problem with its human remains detection dogs. And I'm sorry, I'm not buying the fact that they don't have a big enough budget, because cadaver dogs are actually a reasonably cheap resource. You know, they're no more expensive to feed or to keep or to train than any other type of search dog. And if they've got explosive trained dogs, they've got drug dogs. So if they're investing money in drug dogs and explosives dogs, then why on earth have they not invested money in human remains detection dogs? It is insane to me. It is insane to me, because these dogs, it's not difficult to train them. And it's no more of an expense to keep them than any other dog. And if you're concerned about the food bill, get spaniels, because they don't even eat a lot. Jesus Christ.
Okay, and just to follow up then, the fact that you are going to search with these dogs now, do you guys know what the area of highest probability is now where you're searching, and are you able to say where that is?
Do they still have mounted police? I assume they do. Unless they've cut the horse budget as well. But yeah, horses are way more expensive. Who knows?
I can answer that question, Steve and Dave. So for officer safety and the integrity of the investigation, we're not going to disclose where our officers are going to be searching in the coming days or in the coming weeks. It's certainly for their safety. It's for the integrity. And I understand that all Nova Scotians want to know what happened to Lilly and Jack, and our officers do too. And we know it's going to take time. We wish it'd be faster, but we have to be patient.
Thank you, Andrew. Keith Doucette.
Hi, thanks. I wonder, not to belabor the point, but I wonder if somebody can clearly state the difference between a cadaver dog and the dogs that you were using, since the dogs that you were using were capable, I understand, of picking up the scent of somebody who just died. So what's the difference now? Is it time?
So the dogs that would have that deploy generally, so human remains detection dogs are specific to human remain odor, and that's completely different from live searching. So as of me right now, our scent is made up of your own personal as well as your secondary odors, such as your laundry detergents or any cosmetics or an environment in which you work in. So for example, if I was a mechanic, I'd be working in different chemicals, oils, so on and so forth. That would be adding to those components. All of that, our dogs are trained to search, whether it be tracking, as it was mentioned before, or even just searching. The dogs can recognize a human odor, as well as they can recognize scented materials. So for example, clothing items, evidence that is discarded. So there's 2 or 3 gamuts of what those original dogs that may deploy, we call them full profile or multi-profile police service dogs. They're the well-rounded, do a little bit of everything dog. When it comes to an HRD, they specifically do human remains decomposition. So that, like I said, that is a completely different gamut of possibilities, or a profile that they would search for. So they would be more specific, whereas the other teams would be more generalized into those items of interest. Could have been clothing that they could have found. The human remains detection dogs, they would not necessarily indicate on those. They may show some interest, but only be indicating to us to further investigation in regards to the presence of human remains odor. I don't know if that helps.
Yeah, no.
All right. Let me explain that a little bit more simply. The dogs that they sent out in May, they were live scent trackers. They were searching for human scent, specifically Lilly and Jack's scent. Everybody has a unique scent that comes off their body as a form of skin cells, sweat. We can't smell it, unless you haven't had a shower for 3 years or you work, and you sweat really hard. Then a human nose might be able to detect it, right? We call it BO, right? But it's just normal scent. Dogs, however, have got a massively, thousands of times better sense of smell than humans do. And dogs can determine each individual's unique scent. They can even differentiate between the scent of identical twins. Identical twins do not have the same scent if you are a dog. They might have the same fingerprints or similar. Actually, they do have unique fingerprints, but similar fingerprints and virtually the same DNA, but they have a unique scent that a dog can decipher. So when a dog is sent out looking for a live person, then it's the scent of that live person that they are alerting to. Now, let's say that live person has wandered off in the woods and has, I don't know, dropped their hat, or they've taken their coat off and just thrown it away. Then the dog might find that because it smells like the person that they're looking for, because the person was wearing that item, and it would find that, right? Cassie can find my clothes. I can hide my clothes and in the woods and come back 2 or 3 days later, and Cassie can find them. It's article detection. But the dogs that they sent out would be trailing a scent, but if they came across an item, let's say of clothing, then they would alert on that as well. Also, somebody who has recently died, so somebody who's been dead only a few hours, they're actually still going to smell like a living person. Yes, there's going to be early decomposition, but their clothes will still have the scent of that living person, and their body will still have it. Won't be producing new scent, but the body will still have residual scent. So a live scent tracker dog could find somebody who is now dead but has only just died. Okay. An article detection dog that is trained on cadaver scent, though, is completely different. They're not looking for a live scent. They're not looking for human scent that's coming off a living person. They are looking for, or searching for, the chemicals that are produced after death during decomposition. Decomposition starts straight away after death, once your brain has died and your brain's no longer getting oxygen, it's not pumping blood around, cell death starts to occur. But it's a few hours before you start going into a process of active decomposition. And that active decomposition process then builds up. And once we can smell it, you have to be dead for quite a few hours before we can start smelling the scent of death. But we can smell it. And if you've ever smelt the scent of death, then you absolutely know what it smells like. It's horrible, horrible smell. It goes right in your nose and you can't get rid of it. Horrible smell. But dogs can detect human remains buried deep underground, in water. They can detect where a body has been, as long as that decomposition has had an opportunity to basically soak into the earth. You know, you can bury somebody and dig them up, and a human remains detection dog would still alert on the area where that body had been, even if they've long since gone. So it's amazing what these dogs can do, but they are very different type of dogs than the live scent trackers that the cops sent out in May.
It's helpful. And with regards to the specialized dogs, how successful are they generally in searches? In other words, if you're in an area and there is a body there that you hadn't previously detected, are they going to find it necessarily?
Dogs will only find it if the odor is present. So when we search, how do I describe this? In Nova Scotia, back in 2017, there was a research study conducted with the medical examiner's office and the RCMP. This is kind of the building blocks of the human remains detection program for the RCMP. And when they did their study, I believe it was published in 2017, and their status for the training exercises was a 94% success rate. And out of that, that's where we developed our program and how we started incorporating that into our training.
Okay. I found that study. Here it is. This is the study that Sergeant Pike is talking about. It's 21 pages. It's a full research study. It's published in 2017 in the Journal of Forensic Identification. I am going to do another live stream reading through this and explaining it. I'm not going to do it right now because it's going to take a live stream of its own, because this is very technical, and it's probably for those who are only, you know, the ones who are really, really interested in this type of information. So I'm not going to read it now, but just to say, I have got the full study. I was able to find the full study, 21 pages, and I will do another live stream probably tomorrow, talking through this particular study. And I'll go through, I used to write research studies. I've published 60 something research study, like journal articles. So I understand statistics. I can go through everything with you, as well as understanding the dog side of it. So I'll do that. I'll do that probably tomorrow. I would do it today, but I don't know. I've not decided. Probably tomorrow. Most probably tomorrow. I'm not going to say I'm going to do it later, because I probably won't. But I will do it tomorrow. So I do have that study that he's talking about. And you're in safe hands that I can interpret a research study. Don't you worry. All right.
So in regards to operationally, there's so many factors that could come into place. One, if that odor is not being released for whatever reason, well, then the dog won't be able to pick up on that odor. It's in essence not present. So if we take a Ziploc bag, for example, and it's completely airtight and the odor is no longer present, well, the dogs won't indicate on that. We may visually be able to see that, but if the odor isn't present, the dogs are trained for odor. Once that odor is released, whatnot, then that dog would indicate to its handler. So this is why it's that team effort as well. The dogs may show interest on something and bring the handler closer, where they might be able to locate it as a team effort.
All right, thank you.
Okay, next, Marniels.
Thank you. I'm wondering, how long after death are these dogs most effective in searching? How long can they successfully search for? How long is the odor good for?
Again, there's so many variables. If I'm a larger individual, well, there's more material that will be releasing gases, and so it will be around for a longer period of time. The conditions, is there a slow release, or is it, is the predator or scavenger interaction? There's so many different variables. You won't be able to put a timeline on any of those components. There's, like I said, it basically is an educated guessing. You would have to take in all those parameters and conditions in how the remains have been placed or laid or decomposing, and what effect the environment and or the situation unfolds.
Yeah, and all the more reason why, coming in the end of September, when you had reason to believe that Lily and Jack were no longer alive at the beginning of May, then you've had all this time for the bodies, if Lily and Jack's bodies were in the woods, to have been scavenged to the point of zero, to the point where you might find a bone shard. You might find, I don't know, you'd probably find the clothes still, because animals don't generally eat clothes. But you would have a greater chance of finding actual bodies than just bone fragments if you'd done this search in May and not left until the end of September. They've basically had the entire summer for bears, coyotes, animals feeding their babies over the summer months to have scavenged their bodies. And I know it's horrible. I know we're talking about two children here, but when push comes to shove, once a body is dead, to an animal, it's just meat. It's just, oh, look, another meal. We're going to eat well tonight, lads. It's just meat. And these guys have just completely and totally missed the boat. They either believe that Lilly and Jack were no longer alive, or they believe that they were alive and needed to go elsewhere to look for them. But that's not what they said on the 7th of May. Daughter of Scotland, my oldest member for 49 months. That's insane. That's insane. Insane. Exactly. Animals do not do empathy. They don't. They don't do empathy at all.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Dave. Sorry.
Yeah, a lot of it is environmentally based, and you know, for example, what the staff Pike was talking about is, you know, what was the person wearing? Where did they pass on? Is it in the fall? Is it during the midsummer? All that will have an effect on the human body. But what we can say is our dogs have been finding, you know, bones just out in the forest. And when those bones are put down, we can kind of trace back whenever that person went missing, to know that, yeah, you know, it isn't reasonable to know, kind of thing. So, yeah, so we all different stages of decomposition is that our dogs are going to be able to detect for us.
We've had a
All right, so the different kinds of decomposition. Do I think the children have been taken somewhere else? If they've been murdered, then yes. But if they wandered into the woods and got lost and then died, then they're going to be in those woods. But if they were murdered, if there's foul play, then I've no doubt about it that they're not going to be very close by. They'll have been taken. Look, there's so many places where they could have been hidden if they've been murdered. So, what was I going to say? I've forgotten what I was going to say now. I saw that question and I've completely lost my train. Oh yeah, different kinds of decomposition. So you've got active decomposition, where bacteria within the body is breaking down the cells, the tissues, the breaking it down. It's horrible. It stinks, and that's the scent that is so horrible that we can smell. Once that active decomposition phase has happened, the body starts to dry up. And it depends largely on the environment as to how that long takes. If it's hot weather, if there's lots of insects around, you've got the external bugs and bacteria, as well as the bacteria that was from inside the body that's going to act on that body. It's going to get broken down through that active decomp phase very quickly. Whereas if you're in a very cold environment, then that's going to take longer. A lot longer. If it's freezing, then you're going to decay very, very slowly. If it's really dry, then you're actually likely to mummify, or at least partially mummify, like basically dry out, like your tissues dry out. And then you've got, and this is assuming that there's no large animal scavenging. We're just talking about insect and bacterial activity there. Not large animals like wolves or coyotes, bears, birds, etc., or fish if you're in the water, because they'll clean bones. They'll, like marine life, will literally clean bones, everything. They'll clean them. So then you're approaching the skeletal phase, where you've just got like hair and bones and maybe some cartilage and stuff left, and the human remains detection dogs that these guys have will also detect bones, and they've been trained to detect both on land and in water. So at least that's good.
very hot, dry summer here. Does that make the situation better or worse for your dogs?
I think I'd be very confident if we can get our dogs in the right area, that our dogs, even if it's been a hot, dry summer, that should be fine for us.
Okay, and last question. So these dogs, the human detection dogs, we don't have any of those in Nova Scotia. They have to come from elsewhere. Is that correct?
Correct. The only one on the East Coast is in PEI right now.
Okay, thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you, Marnie. Up next, we have Heidi the Project.
Hi, just sorry, looking for my mute. It's Heidi Petrocic with Global National. Thanks for doing this. I have a technical question. If something is buried, what's the depth of scent detection that a human remains dog can do? Has that ever been studied?
For the most part, service dogs are lacking the scientific research and support just because it's relatively new, especially in Canada.
I'm sorry, it might be new to Canada, but it is not new to the rest of the world. Human remains detection is actually very well studied in dogs and has been very well used in dogs, seemingly everywhere in the civilized world except in Canada. So Canada might be playing catch up, but I'm sorry, Mr. Pike, whatever your name is, it's not true. There's loads of information. There's loads of trainers. There's loads of police services. There's loads of search and rescue organisations that are able and have got very competent human remains detection dogs. Just because Canada only has 6 to 8 and has done one study that has got published, and they think, oh, well, you know, we're at the beginning of this journey now. This is brilliant. You're playing catch up by many years. It's infuriating. Absolutely infuriating. And I'm sure, look, these guys, I'm sure they're very good at their job. But it's not true that this is new. It's not true at all that this is new. And I'm pretty sure that these reporters know this because they're asking all the right questions. All the right questions. Now, in terms of how far can they detect underground, it depends what's on top of them. If the remains are buried in a very porous like substance, i.e., you know, there's air, like very loose, let's say loose sand, right? There's lots of air that can get through, then the odor will emanate upwards and get to the dog's nose. So you can be buried deep, and as long as the substance on top of you is porous, then the dog can detect it. The dog can only detect it if it gets to its nose, and it has to, that odor has to be able to spread via the air to that dog's nose. So you mentioned before that if you put odor in a Ziploc bag and it's absolutely airtight, then you might be able to see it, but the dog won't alert on it because there's no scent coming through. If it's completely airtight, the scent has got to be able to get to the dog's nose. So underground, you could be just underground, but covered up with a surface that is airtight or in a container that is airtight, and the dog will not alert because the scent cannot get through an airtight container to the dog's nose. That's the answer.
They're pushing the limits. They're reaching out and expanding those limits all the time on the research. There's an advanced decomposition facility that's been recently opened in the last 5 or so years at Trois-Rivières in Quebec. I believe there's some talk that they're looking at doing one in Ontario. So the science is trying to catch up. In regards to the depth?
No, the science isn't catching up. Canada is catching up. The science is fine. The dog trainers are fine. Been doing it for years. Dear God. When I was a teenager, I had a border collie cross German Shepherd, right? And I trained her to track. I trained her to track my sister because I was sick of her getting lost and my mother telling me to go and find her. So I trained my dog to do it because I was sick of it. Like my sister's 7 years younger than me. She used to wander off into the woods and go and play. And then I was tasked with going out finding her. So I was sick of it. So I trained the dog to do it. And even then, I looked at how can I train Ginty to detect dead bodies? I was fascinated by it. Even then, and I'm going back, what, 40 odd years. I'm going back 40 years. Ginty's been dead since 1997. But I couldn't get any dead bodies. I didn't know how to get dead bodies, so I couldn't do it. So, yeah.
again, I don't know of any specific answer to that. The presence of odor. If the odor is there and it's being released, whatever depth it might be, whatever conditions it might be in, if the dogs are able, as Dave said here a few moments ago, if we have the ability to put the dogs in close proximity to where that odor is being released, the dogs will be successful. It's whether the odor is there and being released at the time that the dog is present.
In your experience, or in the experience of the other officer as well, have you ever found remains that have been buried to a significant depth?
Yes.
What would the depth have been in your recollection?
I think a significant depth would be a sliding scale for many people, but it was at least 2 feet, I would say. I don't know if that's significant or not. Like Staff Pike was just saying, air was being released and it was making it to the surface for our dog to go and find. You can relate this directly to our avalanche dogs, even the Carta dogs, Canadian avalanche people. They're finding avalanche victims that are buried in snow many meters deep, but there's air being released through all the little different snow tracks to the surface. Those dogs are finding that odor, and that's live odor. Obviously, they're being buried, but yes, we do train for buried as well.
Our training standard is the 2 feet, 60 centimeters. As well, I was on some training exercises in the States, and the teams were exposed to the training exercises to depths of up to 6 feet. And the dogs were indicating.
Thank you.
Thank you, Heidi. I see that several people have their hands up there. I'm going to ask you to lower the hand just because you're throwing off the list of individuals I have and I don't want to miss anybody. So if you could lower those, that would be appreciated. We continue on. Thank you. So up next, I'm going to go to Lindsay Jones.
Hi there, Lindsay Jones with the Globe and Mail, and I have a question picking up on Heidi's. I'm wondering, can these dogs detect odors underwater and in ashes as well?
So our training standards, we do expose the teams, and they have been successful in water and burnt remains. We have one of our teams that we train. It's not directly RCMP, it's a partner agency. They were involved in a search, and when they deployed on a boat, and they have markings that coincide with the wind and the current, where divers went in and located, and his dog, he reported his dog indicating in 3 or 4 locations along that path, and that body was recovered, I believe it was 18.2 meters, 60 feet.
Wow, thank you. And one more question. Can you locate original locations of remains after a body has been moved?
So what we would call that, again, I don't know if the correct term or not, so apologize. Feel free to fact check me here and get back to me. We would call it dirty dirt. And what would happen is if
This is them, not me. I did say it does break up at some points. It's them, not me. Just so you know.
Materials we're looking. Well, like our dogs indicate, as long as that presence, and again, we'll go back to what we said before. If the presence of human remains, decomposition material is there, our dogs will indicate, and they've indicated on tools, equipment, and different things where I'm paraphrasing what your question is there. Will they find an original theme? Depends on what material is present to be off-gassing to releasing that decomposition odor.
Thank you.
I think an example, Lindsay, is literally just yesterday I was doing some training with my dog. I have a box in our training facilities that we use. I've got 2 pieces of bone, they're femurs. We placed dirt inside of that box and put the femurs inside of the dirt. Yesterday, I just took maybe a tablespoon of dirt out, put it in the middle of the parking lot, and let my dog go for a search. And he went and found this dirt in the middle of a parking lot. So yes, we are go and find what you think is called an original scene. There's remains inside the dirt, with the dirt binded to the dirt. And yes, our dog should be able to tell us that it's there.
Thank you, Lindsay. Chris Lambie.
Hi there, Chris Lambie, National Post. Were these specialized dogs available beforehand?
Can a dog be trained in both ashes and water? Yes. Ashes, as in cremains. So what they're talking about is a burnt body. But cremains, so the ashes that you get after the cremation process, they no longer smell like the active decomposition that the dogs are normally trained on. So dogs have to be especially trained to search for cremains. But they can be cross-trained to incorporate cremains into their repertoire.
These dogs have been functioning. The RCMP have had human remains detection dogs. Our first course that we put off was 2017, and our numbers have fluctuated everywhere from the original 4. We've had as many as 11, I believe, and currently we're sitting in around that 6 to 8 that are operational. So, for example, my partner there, Dave, when he mentioned...
That's infuriating. They've had as many as 11 cadaver dogs in Canada, but now they're sitting at 6 to 8. Which is it? How can you not know how many dogs you've got? Have you got 6? Have you got 7? Have you got 8? What is it? I don't understand. Infuriating.
In PEI, that dog handler, that team, they wouldn't be able to respond to calls for service right now, but due to some medical.
Okay. So if you have a dog that can do this in PI, why are you 2 coming from OS to do this?
That's what I just referenced. He wouldn't be able to deploy. Their team is on the sidelines due to medical reasons.
So did the RCMP want to search with cadaver dogs earlier than this?
Earlier to which, like I said,
before now. Before now, did you want to use a cadaver dog but not have one available?
Again, that's specific to any investigation. I won't be able to comment in regards to a specific investigation. We deploy dogs when they're best suited to the information or the investigation details that we have.
Chris, if you have that specific...
Did you want cadaver dogs before this? We're not able to access them.
So I don't have that information at this time, and certainly we can take note of that and let's check with investigators. What's important to remember is that at this time we don't have any definitive information to support that the children are deceased, but we have to keep our minds open and look at all investigative avenues. And earlier on, like I said, we did have police dog services that could pick up human scent, and an extensive search with hundreds of volunteers that were present, right? So we're at the step at the investigation where we have to explore that avenue and bring in specialized human remains detecting dogs.
Thank you, Chris. Mitchell Bailey?
Yes, thank you. Has there been any tips or information received lately that are contributing to why the cadaver dogs are being deployed now at this point?
I can answer that question again. And at this time, we don't have any definitive information to support that children are deceased in the Jack and Lilly search. And our investigators are committed to finding out what happened to their disappearance. And this is another example of utilizing all services that are available to our officers. And we have to remain patient. I know, like the public, our officers want to know what happened. And we're not going to stop until we find out what happened.
Yeah, they keep saying that, but I think what the reporters are getting at here is, why is it taking you so long to do this? That's a simple question. Why is it taking you so long to get round to doing this? Because it was the next logical step to do after you said at the press conference on May the 7th that Lilly and Jack were no longer alive, or you had, you believe that Jack and Lilly were no longer alive. So this is the next logical step.
And also, I just want to know, and I believe this was mentioned slightly before, but just looking to get a bit more information. Is there an ideal window to conduct these types of searches? Is there essentially an end period where it's been too long and the cadaver dogs might have increased difficulty identifying remains?
I believe we have one call for service where a team deployed 2+ years later and recovered material that had been located on the ocean floor during peak high tide or low tide moment that occurred every 10 years or every period of time. The handler was actually on holidays and heard about this tide occurring and made on his own time said, I have to go back and see if we can locate more. The investigation brought them to an area where they did find some bone, some material in around the shoreline. And with the low tide, they went out and they located out into the ocean further as the tide went out. So that would have been material that at least would have been 2+ years on the ocean floor. So again, it's I don't want to say it's limitless, but it's a new profile in regards to Canadian standards. Officially, it's only been in Canada in the last 10, 15 years, where people have been promoting it or been able to actively involved with it. And yeah, with so many variables in play, there's no definitive answer of what the dogs can or can't do. It's all based on the variables or circumstances to that specific incident.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mitchell. Jacob Moore.
Can you hear me all right? Yeah, I'm just wondering, can you say what you have ruled out so far in this case, in terms of where they might be and where the children have ended up?
Jacob, that's a good question. We mentioned that we search, I believe it's 8.5 square kilometers thoroughly with hundreds of volunteers. Search managers have provided interviews in the past where you can miss someone's remains. You can miss someone that could be under foliage or trees, or just last year, I believe we found a gentleman in proximity of a vehicle, and it was a missing person, and it was a year after they had gone missing. So how sure are we that we searched thoroughly? We definitely did search thoroughly. Could we have missed something because of the foliage, because of a down tree, because of the weather, because of daylight hours? Absolutely. I don't know if there's anything else you'd like to add, Dave or Steve, regarding the experience you've had in the past there.
So could they have missed something in the 8.5 square kilometers that they searched? Yes, due to down trees, due to foliage. All the more reason to get the cadaver dogs in May, when you took out the teams that were searching for living children, because you knew then you had the possibility of missing dead bodies. So why not get the cadaver dog in right then? But you didn't, and now we're nearly at the end of September. Shameful.
I'm going to reference that same one that you mentioned there. Humans search visually, and if something is blocking that view or camouflaging, so on and so forth, this is why, as you said before, that what the dog can offer is that odor present. So they don't rely on the visual. They will take us to that foliage. They will take us to those somewhat concealed or buried or whatnot. If there's odor present, the dogs will locate it. And this is just another tool in the toolbox, for lack of better terms, and another way that we can go over any areas that might have been previously viewed and or new areas.
Exactly. Humans search visually. If visual is impaired by whatever means, then a dog is searching nasally, the olfactory system. So if you can't get to an area that, you know, you can't look through the brush, you can't look through things, you've got holes, you've got fallen trees that two little kids might have, I don't know, climbed in because they were injured and died. Well, they could have been there since May the 2nd, and they've been there the whole time. And you have now just admitted that you could have missed stuff that a cadaver dog could have found, and could have been found in May. That is utterly shameful. Shameful. I'm not saying that Jack and Lily are in those woods. What I'm saying is they could be, and they could have been there the whole time. And this whole thing has gone on for nearly 5 months because of a key resource that in other countries, including the United States, would have been done as soon as that first active search had finished. This is shameful.
This is, again, covering all avenues, possibilities.
Yeah, can I add a follow-up on there? If these cadaver dogs turn up nothing in these woods after, you know, weeks or however long you search, does that indicate to you that these children are elsewhere than these woods?
All right, Tammy, maybe they needed the dogs on other searches in Canada. We don't know the reason they weren't. Also, a lot of material to go over. All the more reason why having just 6 to 8 cadaver dogs in the entirety of Canada, where it's a huge country and they've got thousands of missing people, all the more reason to assume that that is just a complete shameful lack of use of resources. If they have to share 6 to 8 cadaver dogs from an entire country, well, it's absolutely terrible when there's thousands of highly trained cadaver dogs in the United States. Probably most sheriff departments have at least maybe one cadaver dog, or a dog that they can easily access from a search organization that works with the sheriff's department. State polices have them, the FBI have them. In my country, every police constabulary has a cadaver dog, or at least one or two, or has the ability to get a team together. So just because there's a missing person, let's say, for example, a missing person in Scotland, let's say, doesn't mean to say that a missing person in Wales is just going to get forgotten for 5 months. Because in Wales, they'll be able to get a cadaver dog team together. And then in Scotland, they'll be able to get a different cadaver dog team together, because we have plenty of cadaver dogs. Dear God. Dear God. So that's not an excuse.
Jacob, yeah, go ahead, Dave, please.
Yeah, because I've done many searches where we haven't found anything. That does not mean to say that there isn't something there. It just means I wasn't able to get my dog into the proper area where there was a presence of the odor that he's been trained to find. And that's it. Like, if we haven't found anything, it just means that my dog wasn't in the right area for the odor that he's been trained for.
Thank you, Jacob. Rebecca Lau?
So if the dogs don't find anything, could the conditions change, and like if you came back, perhaps they could find something then?
Sorry, guys, I've been talking and I've been on mute. Sorry. No, we're not frozen. It's me being on mute, answering a question here. Can horses be used for scent work? I'm not sure a horse could be used for scent work. I'm not sure, because the best animals to use are carnivores, because that's what they do. They're looking for prey. So a horse is a prey animal. So I guess you could, but I don't know how effective they'd be. I guess you could, but I just don't know. I've never heard of a horse being used. So dogs are by far the best animal to use, because they want to work. It's just what they do. It's just they live for sniffing stuff. All you're doing is taking that skill, that just innate skill, the thing they love to do, and getting them to find something specific. But horses, I don't know. Do I think it's like the Charlene Downs case? Charlene Downs, isn't that the girl who was murdered in Blackpool? I remember, on the right girl. Murdered in Blackpool, like the girl that was groomed. Very different circumstances, if I'm thinking about the right person.
Again, that will come down to the areas of probability, the odor releasing, different gamuts. If, for example, it was a small area like the parking lot, as Dave said, from training exercises, we would search an area. And just as a precaution, or not precaution is the right word, just to reassure, well, the winds could change, different parameters. So we would actually change their search pattern. And there's certain things that we will do as an operational handler to eliminate as many variables as possible. So all of those things will be considered in any investigation that we're doing. Does new information arise? So why would we continually go back to the same area unless we have reason to? Or why would we move to somewhere else unless we have reason to? And this goes down to the areas of highest probability and the best utilization of resources.
Cats inform me they are the best animals for anything. They could do a better job than dogs, but they don't see why they should. That's absolutely true. Actually, cats' sense of smell isn't as good as a dog's. However, guess who has a way better sense of smell than dogs? And dogs have got thousands and thousands times better sense of smell than humans. But bears have got a fantastic sense of smell. A bear can trounce a dog. So much better than a dog. However, I'm not sure that a bear would be a suitable search and rescue partner. I'm not sure. They have trained, there's one service that's trained an otter to search in water. A search otter. Somebody's trained an otter. But I think dogs are the best bet, because they just want to work. It's what they want to do. You volunteer to train a bear for search and rescue. Brilliant. All right.
Whether it be the searchers, when any file first comes up, we usually try to find the last known location or possible locations, and this is where we start from. So for us to move or go different areas or locations, generally we're going to need or want something to pull us there, point us in those directions. So again, there's no definite answer, because all those variables had to be considered, and then they had to be reanalyzed and new game plans made.
Okay. And just a point of clarification, how big is the team that's coming to Nova Scotia? How many handlers and how many dogs?
There's going to be, I can add to that. There's going to be 2 of us with a dog each. And one of the reasons why we chose to bring 2, one is simply just availability as well. But we're going to be doing a bunch of searching, and what Staff Sergeant Pike was just referring to is, let's say my dog is showing some interest over in whatever part of that we are searching, but he hasn't been able to find anything specifically. Like he hasn't been able to get to the source of whatever odor that he's showing a good interest in. Okay, I'm going to pull my dog out and I'm going to get the other handler to come in, and I'm not even going to tell him what I've been seeing or even the location. I'm just going to let him go work that area the same way that, or the area that he thinks he should work it, and see if we have similar results. I'm doing the same thing here in the Lower Mainland. I was out searching for a missing dementia person that they had believed was in a specific area. I went out and searched this area. It was along the Fraser River. My dog is not a very, he'll go and work in water, but he won't go volunteer on his own unless he's got a reason to do it. He hopped into the Fraser River and started swimming around trying to find an odor in the water. Okay, well, that was pretty significant for me. I went back 2 days later. He showed me the same interest, same area. Okay, the underwater dive team came out to search the area. They didn't find anything. It doesn't mean that there isn't anything there. My dog was just out for a swim. The underwater recovery team probably didn't find the person on the bottom of the Fraser River. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get another dog to come out and verify that that I'm not doing something wrong as well. So he's going to go and search and hopefully find the same location, so we can go back to the underwater recovery team and say, you guys have to do another search because there's definitely something in the Fraser River. So yes, to answer your question, there's going to be two of us with two different dogs doing the same searches as we're going throughout the Atlantic region.
Thank you very much.
All right, and that is absolutely usual, very usual, that if a dog is indicating in a particular area, that they'll get another dog out to confirm that there is actually something there. The fact that they've only got 2 dogs going means that they're limited in, obviously those dogs will need to rest. They can't run these dogs day in, day out for literally weeks. Having a bigger team would mean that they could cover more area, obviously. They could have multiple teams doing different areas, but they don't have the capacity to do that because there's only 6 to 8 cadaver dogs in the entirety of Canada. So they're either using a quarter or a third of their Canada's whole cadaver dog team by doing this one search. So 2 dogs, normally you would say, yeah, as you know, to search one area, 2 dogs is fine. But when you're looking at an area that's potentially as large as where Jack and Lily could have gone, then 2 dogs it's challenging. It's very challenging. They've made life really hard for themselves. They have in Canada. If they were buried in a cemetery, could a cadaver dog still find them? It would depend on how and where in a cemetery they were buried. Like if you just went into a cemetery and dug a hole and put someone in a hole, and then ran a cadaver dog round, they'd way more likely find the person in the shallow grave than they would start digging up graves. But it depends on the type of cemetery. Is this a cemetery that is filled with ancient remains? Is this an active cemetery where new people are getting buried? What is the nature of the burials in that particular cemetery? What are the types of coffins or caskets that people are in? Are they in, airtight caskets? How are they buried? How deep are they buried? There's a whole range of reasons why somebody could be found in a cemetery if somebody just happened to go into a cemetery and dig a shallow grave at the side of a cemetery. But having said that, there's reasons why that would be a great place to hide someone. But it would depend. Depend very much. If the cadaver dogs a starting point? Is it easier to follow the children's scent? Cadaver dogs don't follow scent. This is not live scent tracking. They're not trailing a scent. What you're doing is you're taking a dog to a specific area and they are participating in article detection, which is a type of hunting. It's not trailing, it's a type of hunting. So they're searching around an area for that particular odor. So the starting point, obviously there has to be a starting point, but it's not a tracking, start here and track them until they find them.
Thank you, Rebecca. Charmaine?
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, sorry. Thank you very much for doing this today. Could you talk a little bit about the training your dogs go through and also the age of your dogs?
For the Police Dog Service Training Center, we do the full gamut of training. We oversee the development of the younger dogs. We'll call that the imprinting stages. So breeding program develops or births the puppies. Those puppies then go with police officers in the field that are working towards becoming dog handlers through an apprenticeship program. And they work with the dogs to start. That was what we would call informal training. By the time the dog gets approximately a year and a half, so 18 to 24 months, they will start official training program. And they will do that with a teammate, the dog handler. That consists of 85 training days. So they'll start generally in the spring, April, and they'll run till the end of August, September. And that will be what we would call the full profile general duty police service team. Those teams then will have one of the specialties for detection. That could either be explosives, drugs, or human remains. From there, the explosives or human remains, they will actually return back to kennels, to the training center, PDSTC, for an additional training course, which is another 20 plus training days, so another month and a bit, where they will actually fine tune and hone those skill sets. So by the time the dog does the very...
Right, the training program that he's talking about, RCMP actually have a video on YouTube about their training program. In one of my recent videos, only in the last video within the last, I don't know, last week, 10 days, and I played a clip from the RCMP's training center. So and in that video, I only played a clip, but I left a link to the RCMP video in the description box. And they've got a great training center. They've got a breeding program. They breed German Shepherds, and they then match their dog with a handler, and then they train together. Great program. It's crazy that they've got so few dogs and they're so far behind on this. So it's really sad, but there's a whole video from the RCMP on YouTube about this.
Variable of age for the dog for the training, which would be from that year and a half to 2 years. So by the time they graduate, that would be in around that 2 to 2.5 years. By the time they finish that secondary detection portion, human remains or explosives, they're going to add another 5 or 6 months on there because the window by the time we get the courses organized. So I don't know if that answers your question in regards to the age or the duration of the training courses.
It does. Is there a process in place to kind of monitor their, lack of a better term, success rate, or is that?
So every year they will go through recertification, validations. They also are responsible to train minimum 8 hours every block, every week. That's minimum. They will take part in various in-service training. And again, they're honing their skills continuously throughout the operational life of that team.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Charmaine.
I think I will add on to what Staff Pike was saying is Specific to our human remains group, all of our handlers that are in that human remains detection group are all very, very experienced police dog handlers. They've been in the field, they've got a lot of service and a lot of time behind the dog. Only because a lot of the investigations that we get involved in could be very high profile. Lilly and Jack is a very good example, right? So we want to be able to have our most experienced or experienced handlers go into these investigations to assist as best as we can.
Thank you, Dave. Jen Tappan.
Hi there, Jen Tappan with Chronicle Herald. Do you often work in the woods, heavy brush, like in the search area, which has been challenging for search and rescue personnel?
Yes, yes, quite. Most of our searches are in wooded areas, I would say, and they vary from. I was in Newfoundland 2 summers ago, and that was very, very thick. I imagine this is going to be very thick bush as well, from what I've been hearing from the local dog handlers. So, yes, we do very thick stuff.
Okay.
I believe.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I believe there was a stat I read a little while ago that the RCMP police 70% of the country landmass. So most of what the RCMP police will be your rural environments, because Ontario and Quebec, of course, it's only federal. But in regards to the rest of the country, they will do 70% of the landmass of Canada. So it's mostly a lot rural environments.
Okay, thank you. And how big of an area can you generally search in a day? And if I can also squeeze in the other dog team, where are they from? Is that Inspector Reddy?
Yeah, Inspector Reddy is he's our provincial E division, which is province of BC. He's our provincial. He's also been tasked with a whole bunch of other stuff, being an inspector now. As far as how much can we search in a day, a lot of that depends on where we're searching. So an example is we have a missing kid up in the Sea to Sky, which is up in Squamish area. And if you've ever been to BC and Squamish, there's a big gondola that takes you up the mountain and you can go hike around in the alpine and everything like that. He's gone missing underneath this gondola. So the terrain in there is very vertical. It's very difficult for a dog and a human to go and search there a considerable distance. Contrast that to a missing cattle rancher outside of Merritt. Merritt has rolling hills, but a lot of the searching was on very flat and very open ground, where in a course of, I think it was 4 days, I put on 54 kilometers, I think it was, of searching. Where up in the Sea to Sky, I was only able to do 5 kilometers in an entire day. So it just depends on terrain, is a lot of it.
Thank you, Jen. And Steve Curry with Colchester Code 1.
Thanks. I think most of the questions have been asked. Jen, that was a question I was interested in as well, too, in terms of duration and how long it might take to actually do the search. I guess another question I have is, how effective are the dogs in a really strongly competing organic decomp areas, such as a sewage area? Is that something they can detect in?
Absolutely. We do through the training and or exposures that they do after the fact. There is some studies and whatnot. Human decomposition is unique to itself. They are, again, out of Trois-Rivières. They've done a study there a couple of years ago that was published, and they were trying to compare certain animals to decomposition. So they are advancing the knowledge, the science base behind it, but the dogs, again, they are trained specifically for human remains. And as a handler or as a trainer, it's our responsibility to take outside sources of odor that they may be experiencing in an operational call, and what we call proof the dogs off that. So we would proof them off other human scents, other animals, other decomposition materials, food sources, anything that we can think of through our training. we present that in an environment where the dogs would smell and indicate, and part of their annual validations, we actually place other animal decomposition out, and the dogs have to ignore it, show no final response or indication that would, in a sense, fool the handler or have the handler believing otherwise.
Okay, thank you. That's right, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to add to that. The scent of human decomposition is different to a dog than the scent of a decomposing rat or a decomposing cat or a decomposing ostrich, because each type of body has its own unique decompositional, I don't know what you would call it, chemical makeup, I guess you would call it. However, the question was about sewage. And I did note that he didn't mention sewage. And by sewage, we mean human sewage, human waste. Because the one thing that can confuse a cadaver dog is human sewage. So whoever asked this question is very well informed. Because, yes, very good dogs, like a really, really top of the game dog, will be able to make a distinction between human sewage and a decomposing body. However, human sewage, when it builds up, let's say, for example, if a sewage pipe, an underground sewage pipe has burst at some point in the past, you're going to have some kind of decompositional area within that soil, even if that pipe has been long since mended. If sewage is pumped into rivers, like this guy here talked about his dog alerting in a river, and the divers went in and searched and they didn't find anything. Well, it could well be that if sewage is being pumped into that river, as sewage is pumped into rivers here, it's disgusting, but it is. I think it's been treated, but who knows? And it could well be that his dog was alerting to human sewage, because we as human beings have waste, right? We have waste products. We urinate and defecate for a reason, because we need all of that waste to be gone, or else our body will become toxic. And part of that waste, yes, there's food waste, but a part of it is our cells that have died, because we're replacing cells all the time. And as part of cell death, we are producing in very, very small amounts cadaverine and putrescine and the other chemicals that are produced by the dead body when bacteria is breaking it down. So if you've got human sewage in the environment, then a dog could alert on that human sewage instead of there actually being a body there, or a body that has been there and been moved. So there is that, and he didn't mention sewage. So yes, they can easily determine whether a dog can differentiate, and part of their annual training certification is for dogs to be able to differentiate between human decomp and other animal decomp. That's fine, but sewage is the one thing that could, I'm not saying will, but could confuse a dog.
I think I can give you two examples, I think, of what you're asking about. Is one, I was just in attendance at a Canadian police dog detection seminar here in the spring, where one of the Edmonton human remains handlers was here, and he told us a story.
You can definitely smell the putrescine when my boyfriend comes out of the lab. I won't tell him you said that. I won't tell him you said that. And no, I'm not. Look, we're not attacking. Certainly, I'm not attacking the whole of Canada. I'm absolutely not. What I'm saying is the Human Remains Detection Dog Program is very small and new compared to that in the United States, the UK, Australia, the European countries. because it's been long since known that cadaver dogs are cost effective. And I'm really sad that Canada is way behind. I'm not attacking Canada or Canadians at all. I'm saying it's really sad just on this one particular issue. And I hope that they're working to rectify it. And they've got a great training centre. They really do. They have a great training centre. So I hope that in the years to come, they'll be able to train way more dogs and way more handlers. And, you know, in the UK, the police dog handlers are police, like the police officers. They train as police officers, then they train as a dog handler, but they do other police work as well. So it's not like you have to have a specific handler, you know, and you're paying a specific handler just to handle a dog. No, they're doing other police work as well. And a system like that is very cost effective. And they bring the dog out when they've got a dog thing to be. You know, the dog's there, but the dog's either resting in the kennel or, you know, resting somewhere while the officer is doing other police work. So I want to talk about this one issue.
Of how he was doing a search, and the search eventually led to a septic field where his dog was like, hey, there's something here, and I can't really find what was here. When they did a pump out of the actual septic tank, they found some of the bones and the hair that was still in the tank from all that biological process. But what has happened is that person was put into the septic tank. All the enzymes and biological processes happened in the septic tank. And when all this was flushed out into the septic field, there's a term called VOCs, volatile organic compounds. Those are what we believe our dogs are picking up on and detecting. Those were flushed out into the field. And that's what his dog was telling us, like there's some VOCs here. Last summer, I was involved in the Saskatoon City Police search of their landfill for one of their homicide victims. And Staff Sergeant Pike was talking about a lot of the science hasn't caught up with what we're actually doing, and we would love to be able to do more. And it's always a question, like, how effective are the dogs in a landfill? Well, we don't know, but we can certainly try. So we were doing kind of our off the side of the table science while we were searching. We had 2 dogs there as well working. So we were doing our own training and our own figuring out how valid is it using a dog in this kind of environment. And it is possible for sure, as long as the VOCs are present for sure.
Thank you.
Landfills are difficult because there's so many hazardous possibilities in a landfill. You can't just let a dog go to search a landfill because there's gases, there's dangerous, you know, there might be needles, there's all sorts of things that could injure a dog. So landfill searches with cadaver dogs, yes, they do them. The FBI do them. They had cadaver dogs on scene when they were searching for little baby Quinton Simon, but they do it in a very controlled way so that the dogs don't get hurt. But landfills are difficult for everybody, dogs and humans. Horrible, horrible place to search.
Thank you, Steve. That concludes our question and
What I wonder why the actual GPS location of the blanket is the other side of the forestry road, according to Jenny and Daniel. I don't know. I do not know. The actual location of the blanket is confusing because, you know, they say it's near the pipeline, but then in the court documents, it says it's Lansdowne Station Road, which is the other side of the road. So I don't know. I think we're at the end.
Period. Thank you, folks, very much for your questions. Guy, if you'd like to wrap things up.
Thank you, Ian. Andrew Sampson, I see you have your hand up. Did you have a chance to ask 2 questions earlier?
Yeah, I did. You can ignore that.
Okay, thank you very much. I want to thank everyone for attending today, especially our experts here, Staff Sergeant Pike. Thank you very much for coming on air today to answer these questions with the media, and same with you, Sergeant Dave Whalen. Appreciate your time today and efforts in supporting us here in Nova Scotia.
All right, so that was really interesting. And we've got Charmaine to thank for this. So once again, I'd like to publicise Charmaine's channel. So I've been playing this from True Crime Story Pod with Bree and Shaw. And Charmaine was able to get a press pass so she could attend the online media briefing, which we've just watched. This happened on Friday. Members of the mainstream media were all there, and none of them have put out the full briefing. Like Global News and CTV, CBC, they played little clips in the news of this briefing, but only Charmaine has put out the full briefing. So once again, I'd like to thank Charmaine for doing that and giving us all the opportunity to listen to the full briefing. It's interesting. However frustrating it is that we're now at the end of September and Lily and Jack went missing at the beginning of May, and this should have been done months ago. At least it's being done. So let's end this live stream on a positive. At least they're doing it now. At least they're doing it now. So I hope they find something. I really do. I'm not confident, honestly, that they'll find something, because Lily and Jack could literally be anywhere by this point. But at least they're giving it a try. I hope it's not just lip service and that they're going to give it a really, really good try. They are somewhat limited with just 2 dogs. They can't exhaust these dogs to the point of death. You know, these dogs will have to have rest days, and, you know, they could get injured, and there's all sorts of reasons why just having 2 dogs is a problem. But let's just work with what we've got and be thankful for what we've got for now. For now. It's approximately 12 meters from the RCMP location to Jenny and Daniel's location. Okay. Well, in the court documents, it says Lansdowne Station Road, not Lansdowne Road. They are 2 different roads. That's the problem I've got with it. That's the problem I've got with it. All right. So I am going to do a separate live stream going through this study that Sergeant Pike referenced. This is an RCMP study of their human remains detection dogs from 2017. This was published in an academic journal called the Journal of Forensic Identification. So I'm going to do a live stream reading through and interpreting this, but I'm not going to do it now because I'm guessing that this is going to be very niche. You're going to have to, you know, be really interested in the technical side of this topic. So I'll do a separate live stream on this. I think that will be tomorrow. And I don't know what time, but I'll do this tomorrow. Court docs are totally wrong. They probably are. I think what they've done is the cops have not realised that Lansdowne Road and Lansdowne Station Road are different roads. So there's that. And also, can I direct you, finally, I did mention this at the beginning, but there is a little boy, 5 years old, with autism, who is currently missing in Alberta. He's been missing since Sunday morning. His name is Darius McDougall. He's camping with his family. He went for a walk with his siblings. I don't know anything about his family. I don't know anything about the circumstances or anything like that. But he has been missing since Sunday morning. And as of this morning, he has not been found. Now, I'm 7 hours ahead of Alberta. So it's only going to be like in mid-morning, is it going to be in Alberta right now? So they have been searching overnight. It's a desperate search. It's all hands to the deck. I know that overnight they were using the thermal imaging drones and a helicopter with night vision. So I really hope that we get some good news today that he is found and he's safe. But Darius McDougall, missing from Alberta, from a campsite. It's got the Island Lake campsite. It's very, like, incredibly rural location, and as far as we know, he's just wandered off. So yeah, let's hope for some good news there from Alberta. Let's not hope we're we're not in the same situation 5 months down the line that we are currently with Lilly and Jack. So, all right, guys, I'm going to call it here, and thank you all for joining me. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, this kind of live stream, but these are my favorite type of lives where we've actual, real information that we can dig our teeth into. So thank you to Aubrey for becoming a new member earlier on. And we got Mandy, who's been a member for 34 months. And we've got Daughter of Scotland, who's been a member for 49 months. My oldest member, my very, very oldest member has been in today. So maybe add another. Does I have another one? It's only showing me 3. It's telling me I've got 4. But, oh, there we go. There we go. Thank you so much, Marcia, for joining. Thank you. Thank you. You must have joined before the live started. I missed you. I missed you when you're right. Tucked back in the embers of the beginning. All right. So thank you all. Thank you as always to the mods, and I shall speak to you very soon. Let's hope Darius is found. I will do an update if they find Darius today. All right. Bye, guys.